Welcome back! I'm Jake with Sprouting Spoons, and today we're going to be making a spicy cauliflower. So today you will need 1 head of cauliflower, a little bit of fresh ginger, half of a red onion, 4 cloves of garlic, 1 jalapeno, unless you don't like things super spicy, in which case you can use half or even none, about 3 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar. We're going to use seasoned today because it's a little bit more flavorful. 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, or tamari, which is just gluten-free soy sauce. 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flake, unless of course you don't like things spicy, which you can leave it out. About 1/4 teaspoon of cornstarch. 2 green onions. 2 tablespoons of peanuts that we're going to crush up, and just a pinch of sugar. So we're going to start by making our sauce by taking 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, about 3 tablespoons of seasoned rice wine vinegar, 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, and about 1/4 teaspoon of cornstarch into a small container. And then we're going to add just a pinch of sugar to help sweeten it up a little bit. Since we have all that vinegar, we're just going to stir in that starch a little bit until it becomes nice and broken up. Using a fork might be a little easier. So once all the cornstarch has been dissolved into your liquids, we're going to just set the sauce off to the side for now. We'll come back and use it later. So to chop up our cauliflower, we're going to tilt it to the side so we can see the full stem end. We're going to take our knife. Today I'm using a slightly smaller knife than usual, and we're just going to start by cutting off some of these outer leaves. Get a little bit of the stem in there as well. We're kind of doing it at an angle, and hopefully, if you go around enough, your stem will pop right out. There we go. Sometimes it's a little tough. Don't get discouraged. So we're just going to pick off these loose little leaves here, and then we can take and separate some of these larger crowns off by hand. It's a big head today. And then when you get to the top chunk of it, you can go in and just slice at an angle and kind of do a little downward twist at the end there, and that'll chop off that big piece, which you could chop up and use if you wanted, or you can just keep breaking it off. At this point, you're going to just take any piece that's a little bit too big to fit in your mouth, and then you're just going to slice it in half like so. And the really big ones you can slice into quarters if need be. You're just trying to look for a little bit more pleasant bite-sized pieces. Always trying to get a little bit of that stem on there too, so it all sticks together. So once all of your cauliflower is broken up, we're going to move over into our onion. Again, we have the top side of the onion that sticks outside of the ground, and the root side that obviously goes into the ground then. What we're going to do is we're going to just nip off that root side, so that we still have some of the root still attached. That'll keep your onion all together, and then we're going to chop off a larger portion of this top side. We're going to get rid of that, and then we're going to cut from the top down so you have a nice flat surface and your onion's not rolling away for you. And then we're going to go ahead and take and remove the outer skin of our onion, like so. We're using a nice purple onion today because that's just what we wanted, a little color in there. But you could absolutely use a white onion if you'd like. Now we're going to go ahead and just slice our onion directly in half the other way, and we'll do a little triangle cut in here to remove that little root end. And then we're going to put those two pieces back together, just follow around and make some nice, decent sized pieces. And that's all there is to it. You can break them apart a little bit, and then we're going to move over to our jalapeno. So when we deal with our jalapeno, I'm going to wear gloves, partly because we're always wearing gloves nowadays, right? But also so that we keep the oils from the jalapeno from getting onto our hands and burning for the rest of the day, because nobody likes how that feels. So although our jalapeno is a little bit round, this technique works pretty well to get rid of the core and the seeds. We're going to take a smaller knife and just go around the outside and pull off that little piece. I like to leave mine connected just because that's how I do it, but you can absolutely cut it completely off. But by doing that, you can see all the seeds and where the rib of the pepper is. And then you can just take your knife and follow it around and slowly peel the flesh away from the seeds and the pith. And you just keep peeling it. That one's not cooperating. Again, it's because it's round. So we're just gonna keep cutting around. The idea is not to get a bunch of those seeds on your cutting board just because they chase around everywhere and they're a little troublesome, but sometimes it doesn't work, and then that's okay. Part of the fun of cooking is just experimenting and getting through. But today we're only going to use half of our jalapeno. So I'm going to take part of it away, and then I'm just going to take and slice pretty thinly these nice long pieces. If your skin is causing you trouble going up, try to put it down, and it'll slice just fine. We're going to leave it in little long strips, just because we like to add texture. Careful not to chop your glove and put it in there, because that wouldn't be tasty. Once those are all chopped up, we're going to move over to our ginger. So next we're going to work with our ginger. Ginger has a very thin skin, because it's very emotional. But beyond that, it's easy enough to peel with just a spoon instead of a vegetable peeler. I don't like using a vegetable peeler because it always catches on these little nubs, and that becomes very dangerous because you can just pull it and it end up in your hand, which is not fun for anybody. But like I said, you can just take a spoon and rub it, and it normally comes off. There we go. This one's a variety that's a little bit darker, which makes the skin a little hard to see that's coming off. But once you have it peeled, you can go ahead and just chop off about 1/4 inch or so. And then if you have extra little skins on it, you just peel it with a knife is fine. Just a little bit. Get rid of all of that skin, which would be great for making tea if you really wanted to. And we're going to take and put it so our nice flat side is down like always. We're going to take our knife and just come in and make large little slices like that. Okay. Once you have your little slices, we're going to take a couple, 2 or 3, however many you're comfortable with, and we're going to stack them up like so. And we're going to slice into it and make nice little like matchsticks. So make sure you're tucking your thumb back like I was. You'll see it in just a second again. And so these get lined up. Again, thumb behind, and you're going to use these fingers as a guide so that you can't cut your hand, because that's not fun, trust me. I'm just going to slice into those little matchsticks like that. And one more time over here. And then after this, we're going to cut up our garlic. Once you have your garlic, we're just going to take it, put it on its side, and put our hand on top, and give it a little press with our body weight, and that'll crack it apart. And then you can just find about 4 nice sized pieces of garlic and remove the rest, because we're just going to be using these 4. You have your individual cloves now. You're going to set your knife right on top and give it a little squeeze. That'll separate the skin right off of it. It peels really easily. If you had kids watching you, it'd be great to give them a can of vegetables to smash these with. They'd really enjoy that. And if you press a little too hard, it kind of explodes like so, which is half the fun. Once you have all 4, we're just going to give them a nice slice, and that's going to be it. We like the nice big pieces because we're going to be doing a very quick cook on these, and we want everything to be done at about the same time. So you don't want super teeny tiny pieces of anything floating around in there because they'll burn. And now we're going to cut up all of our garnishes. Garnishes are just little extra things that we add on top. They add a little bit of extra fun, like flavor or texture. Today we're going to be using peanuts and scallions. For our scallions, or green onions, we're just going to slice off the root end and get rid of those. And we're just going to go on a nice bias, which means a nice big angle. And we're going to slice really lots of little pieces like that we can throw on top. You can use both the green and the white parts, but the green parts are going to be maybe a little bit more tough than the white ends of it because they're a little bit older. So you can use them, or you can just use all the whites. So then we are going to work on our peanuts. For our peanuts, we're just going to go and take a small handful of them. I already have pre-roasted and salted peanuts here that we're just going to take and run our knife over a few times. If you're allergic to peanuts, you absolutely can leave them off. They're just going to add a little bit of texture and flavor, like I said earlier. So feel free to omit those if you're allergic or you just don't like peanuts. If you would prefer to use another nut, you absolutely could. Cashews would be delicious. Once you have roughly chopped peanuts, we're going to use those at the end. So next we're going to cook our cauliflower. So today we're going to be using a really big cast iron pan. I like using cast iron for this because it holds its heat really well and provides a nice even cooking temperature. If you don't have one though, you can use any pan. You just might need to take some of it out. We have a lot of cauliflower today, and that reminds me, if you don't want to use it all, you don't have to. Just make sure you account for that in the sauce. So once your pan is nice and really hot, we're going to add just enough oil to kind of coat the bottom, and then just a splash more, right? Once your oil starts to get nice and shimmery, we're going to add in our cauliflower and give it a nice little cook down. We're going to let it get a little dark on one side because we like color. Color equals flavor. We're going to season it with a little salt and pepper at this stage because you always want to season while you cook. That way it doesn't taste like you just salted at the very end. Just put a little pepper on the end. Don't go crazy because we're going to have all that extra jalapeno and a chili flake at the end. Alright, once your cauliflower has some nice color to it and it has become pretty tender, still a little crunch to it because you don't want it to be soggy, we're going to take it out of our pan and put it back in the bowl that it came from. That way we can use all the goodies and stuff that's stuck to the bottom of the pan to help make our sauce extra flavorful. So we're going to return it back to our heat and we're going to re-lubricate our pan with just a little bit more oil. You don't need a ton because it's already got a nice little coating at the bottom. And because your pan is still nice and hot, we're going to go ahead and add in all of our onions and our garlic and our ginger and that pepper from before. We're just going to get that nice and warm and let all those flavors go into that oil. Just going to give it a quick little stir around. Break up those onion pieces a little bit so they all get nice and cooked. It's going to start smelling really great as that garlic and ginger releases their flavors into the whole thing. You're going to want to use about a medium-high heat. That reminds me, our cauliflower took about 10 minutes. That was 10 big minutes on that cauliflower. So after you've cooked it for about a minute or two, your garlic and ginger are going to start to get a nice good amount of color to it, and your onions are going to start to get a little bit of change in color. So what we're going to do is, surprise, add back in the cauliflower. We're going to move that around and let some of that oil coat the cauliflower again, and that's going to get that flavor all nice and distributed in there. Once it's all been blended up, we're going to add back in our sauce from before. But before you do that, make sure you give it a little stir with a spoon or a fork, because that will allow all of the cornstarch that might have settled to the bottom to come back out. We're going to add that in with just a pinch of our red pepper flake. If you like it hot, add a little bit more. We're just going to stir that around. let the sauce come and coat everything. That little cough was because of the all the vinegar in it kind of caught me a little bit. So make sure you don't put your face directly in it, because that's not fun. And cooking should be all about fun, shouldn't it? You're going to let that cook just enough so that the sauce kind of coats everything and that starch thickens just a bit. So maybe 30 seconds to a minute once it gets back up to temperature, and then you should be ready for your plate. So once the sauce has coated everything and is thickened up just a hair, we're going to ditch our spoon and pull out a nice pair of tongs and a plate. I'm just going to scoop a little bit of that on there. This is going to be great with a nice bit of steamed rice or something like that. And so we have all that nice pretty color. And we're going to make it even better by adding a little bit of our chopped green onions from before. Look at that. And some peanuts. Oh my gosh! I can't wait. We're going to take our fork and we're just going to dig in. Oh, it's going to be so spicy. Oh. No, that's delicious. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share, and we'll see you next time.